So it was a Sunday, and the president was feeling better, and so he decided it was time for a drive. So he released another video in which he said, guys, you know what? I'm missing all y'all. And sure, I have a window right here, and I could just go there and open it up and just wave to everybody like Ronald Reagan after he got shot in 1980. But instead, I need to drive around in a car. He's going riding in his automobile. Okay, so here was the video of President Trump riding around in his car. There he is waving. He's wearing a mask inside the car, and you have a bunch of Trump supporters outside cheering. Okay, everybody in the media went totally crazy about this. And you knew they would, right? You knew they would, which is why, was this like a wonderful idea on its face? No. I mean, if you're sick, the way you are supposed to be sick with COVID is you're supposed to quarantine. Quarantining means you're not supposed to do stuff like this, right? Now, again, Jennifer Rubin, who 5 minutes before was like, why didn't he take a car to the hospital? Now she's like, why is he even in a car at all? He should get back on Marine One. Okay, but the rest of the media, again, decided to go absolutely bananas over this thing. Now, again, for the 1000th time, two things can be true at once. Is it a good idea to get in a vehicle and drive around in the vehicle while you have COVID? The general answer is no. It is not a good idea to do this, right? We all made fun of Chris Cuomo when he had COVID, and then he decided to jet set out to his second property and check the place out while he had COVID. Okay. But is it also true that the president is likely working with medical professionals when he decides to do this? Of course that's true. But it doesn't matter. Our Twitter medical professionals decide to go absolutely nuts about this. So Dr. James Phillips, MD, who's the chief of disaster medicine at George Washington University Emergency Medicine, and he's an attending at Walter Reed, which doesn't mean he's Trump's attending. It just means he is an attending at Walter Reed. Walter Reed's a very large hospital. There are many attendings, so it wouldn't be too hard to find some doctor who presumably doesn't like Trump very much. He tweeted out, every single person in the vehicle during that completely unnecessary presidential drive-by just now has to be quarantined for 14 days. They might get sick. They may die for political theater, commanded by Trump to put their lives at risk for theater. This is insanity. Okay, and then you had Dr. Leanna Wen, who's the contributing columnist for The Washington Post and CNN medical analyst. I believe former head of Planned Parenthood, correct? Leanna Wen, who, again, has her own political priors, she tweeted out, if Donald Trump were my patient in unstable condition and contagious illness, and he suddenly left the hospital to go for a car ride that endangers himself and others, I'd call security to restrain him, then perform a psychiatric evaluation to examine his decision-making capacity. Well, then you're probably not, a very good doctor, because it turns out that the Walter Reed physicians cleared him to do this. According to Catherine Herridge over at CBS, doctors okayed the president's drive-by supporters. Deputy Press Secretary tells Mark Knoller appropriate precautions were taken in the execution of this movement to protect the president and all those supporting it, including personal protective equipment cleared by the medical team as safe to do. So apparently the Secret Service agents were not just wearing masks along with Trump. They were also wearing goggles. They were also wearing full-on gowns, basically. They're wearing whatever personal protective equipment they needed in order to be safe. And for all of the members of the media who were fulminating, look at Secret Service being put at risk. It's so terrible. Again, is this a good idea by Trump? No, it is not actually. But with that said, Secret Service, you guys are very, very worried about the Secret Service today. Let me just point out that over the weekend, there were a bunch of Black Lives Matter protesters protesting, and they were doing it at the White House, which means the Secret Service was right there. And there are videos and photos of people shouting directly in their faces, people screaming directly in their faces. And you guys didn't have one word to say about the safety and security of the Secret Service agents. Because apparently that's deeply necessary. It's very necessary to have people scream without masks directly in the face of Secret Service agents, because at least they are screaming for racial justice or whatever cause of the day is. And so forgive me, my skepticism about your motives, media, when you talk about how deeply you care about the protection of our Secret Service agents. Okay, then, my favorite thing, the White House Correspondents Association, they couldn't even get the message straight. So was it bad for Trump to go on the drive, or was it bad that he didn't invite the press to also go along with the drive? According to The Hill, the White House Correspondents Association on Sunday blasted President Trump's brief foray out of his hospital room to wave to supporters from an SUV, calling it outrageous and criticizing the lack of transparency around the photo op. White House Correspondents Association President Zeke Miller said in a statement, it is outrageous for the president to have left the hospital, even briefly, amid a health crisis, without a protective pool present to ensure the American people know where their president is and how he is doing. Now more than ever, the American public deserves independent coverage of the president so they can be reliably informed about his health. So it's terrible, terrible, terrible that Trump would go outside. Also, he was endangering everybody. Also, why didn't we have reporters in the car with him? So that's solid stuff right there. Okay, so what exactly is Trump's health condition as of right now? Apparently, he's okay. People are trying to blow it out of proportion that he's taking a steroid. Okay, lots of people take steroids. I mean, seriously, like steroids are a very, very commonly used medication. They are safe for use in children as designated by the FDA. The use of a clinical steroid in order to presumably help tamp down COVID or work on the immune system so as to tamp down COVID, that is not like the end of the world. However, there was confusion about his condition over the weekend. We'll get to that confusion in just a moment. First, it now looks as though pretty much everybody around Trump has been infected with COVID. So Trump's campaign manager, Bill Stepien, he tested positive for COVID. Attorney General William Barr has not tested positive for COVID, but he's going to self-quarantine anyway, just in case for the next few days. We also have Chris Christie being diagnosed, and Christie obviously is also in a high-risk bracket, considering that he is obviously heavily overweight. We have a bunch of people who are at the Cleveland Clinic debate who apparently got tested and came out positive. So this has turned into its own little super spreader core, which is why, again, should the president have been downplaying the way that he did masking, right? Just in his attitude, not even insofar as what he says, but his attitude. No. Should there have been at this White House Rose Garden ceremony people who were hugging each other and all up on each other, even if they had already been tested? Probably not, right? None of this was kind of CDC standard. I get it. I get the narrative. I do. And again, two things can be true at once for the fifth time. Two things can be true at once. Botched by the White House. Media's bad at this. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.